Welcome to Tea with Tanya. I'm your host, Tanya Ambrose, an average millennial navigating life as a maternal health professional, nonprofit founder, and grad student. Join me in the tea tasting room where we spill the tea on finding balance and promoting positive living while doing it all. Hey friend, welcome back to another episode of Tea with Tanya. Thank you for joining me here in the tea tasting room. As you know, it's always a pleasure whenever I get to meet up with you in the tea tasting room for us to spill some tea and talk about all things transforming every aspect. I'm going to put a disclaimer out before we get into today's episode. Your girl, your friend Tanya, she's been going through it, honey. She's been going through it since the year started. She's just been, I don't know what's going on, but you know what? One thing about her, she's going to hold on to her faith and she's going to keep pushing and she's going to keep being resilient, which ironic enough, today's episode is all about honoring your feelings and building resilience. It's a solo episode, so it's just you and I here talking today. I feel like the last few episodes of this season, I've had some amazing guests. You didn't even understand how proud I am of myself, of the podcast, for you showing up. We celebrated 100 episode. I am still trying to wrap my mind around that. So I don't know, man. It's just crazy. So I want to thank you for your continued support. Thank you for your feedback. I do want you to leave that feedback in the review, rate the podcast, because that's how I'm going to continue to grow and evolve here in the tea tasting room. So I definitely want to give you a special shout out and thank you for tuning in weekly to the Tea with Tanya podcast. And of course, you want to make sure that you're telling a friend to tell a friend as we continue on this journey to transforming every aspect. But yes, today's episode is going to be all about honoring your feelings and building resilience. But before I get into that, I do want to give you a brief life update, as we can call it. Listen, first of all, I'm recording this episode. I'm going to be transparent. I was contemplating if I wanted to put it in the episode or not. But your girl is going through it as it relates to the migraines. I've had a few months without a migraine, or if I had a headache, it wasn't like a slight headache because, you know what, maybe a hunger headache or whatever the case may be. But I am currently on, I want to say maybe day six of a migraine. And let me tell you, when I say severe, listen, but just I don't know. I don't know what's going on with me. But pray for your girl. Send her some good energy. Send her some healing energy because this migraine is trying to take me out. And I cannot afford that because, first of all, one, we are in the best month, the month of May. We know the month of May includes Tanya's birthday. You know, where my Gemini people at? Where my Gemini people, definitely when you hear this episode, go to the Facebook page or the Instagram page and comment on the first post that you see and let me know if you're a Gemini, if you're just a Mayborn girly. Let me know. But it's the best month because it has in my birthday. And then I am getting ready to go back home for my nonprofit Scrub Life Cares Grow with the Flow Women and Girls Health Expo. So I'm looking forward to that. I often say that I'm now sharing a birthday with Scrub Life Cares because our event is the day before my birthday. Last year, the event was the day after my birthday. So at this point, it's just going to be a big celebration. So I'm looking forward to going back to Antigua. The heat, I'm not really looking forward to, but at least I can go to the beach when I want to and I can have that cool sea breeze versus here where I'm just melting from all angles. So definitely I'm looking forward to this month. I will be announcing the winner for the 100 episode giveaway. That's going to be on the next episode. So make sure you stay tuned. And if you want to enter, you definitely have to share the Instagram post that says 100 giveaway. Tag me, tag the page, leave a review, rate it, send me the screenshot. And that's how you are able to enter that giveaway. And we have some goodies coming to one lucky winner. So I am encouraging you to make sure you enter that giveaway. Now, when I say I have a migraine, I'm pushing through recording this episode, right? But as I'm thinking about the episode about honoring your feelings and building resilience, I have made it to the end of a semester. I don't know how it happened, when it happened, but your girl, I made it. I have made it, my friend. I have literally got to the end of the semester. This semester was challenging for so many reasons on a professional front, on academic front, and just especially on a personal front. But this semester, I had one class that I was taking, and I absolutely, honestly despised this class, and that was my health economics class. Let me tell you, that class was just I don't know, man. I lost hope, and I was like, you know what, Lord, please, I do not want to have to repeat a class in grad school because the overachieving me. I know your friend is an overachiever. The overachieving me was just I cannot afford to fail this class. But lo and behold, your girl is on the winning side. I am on the passing side, so I have passed all my classes this semester. I mean, I wasn't expecting any less, but that health economics class had me trembling for the entire semester, but your girl came out on top. I have passed all my classes, and I've been able to make connections with my peers and also with my professors as well. So that has been a really good thing to happen to me this semester. But let me tell you, it was challenging. But one thing I'm going to do, I am going to turn a stumbling block into stepping stone, and I'm going to be persistent. And of course, that's where that resilience come in when it comes to me, because I know the goal ahead. And of course, even if I had failed at class, it wouldn't have been the end of the world. Although low-key, it would have been the end of the world for me for a couple of weeks. But I think passing the class just showed, it exposed a lot of things when it comes to me. I realized I can no longer, like, sometimes I bullshit when it comes to some classes. I'm just going to keep it real. And that was one of the classes that I was like, you know what, I can't. I just went into that particular class with a negative mindset because, again, I hate economics, anything economics. And I'm like, why do I have to do this? I know I'm going to need it in the future, of course, especially if I'm here running a nonprofit as well. But I think I had to play catch up towards the end of the semester, and I didn't like how that made me feel. The stress that I was under and everything. But it taught me that, I am resilient, and anything that I can put my mind to, I am going to get it done. So I just want to give you an update on that because I know you've been following me along this grad school journey. And let me tell you, this semester had me shaking in my boots, but I came out on top, and I'm ready for the next semester because I'm in my last year. Once the next semester comes around, that's going to be my last year of grad school. And before you know it, it will be graduation time. So I am definitely looking forward to that. And also, let me just share the tea of the week because we still be sipping our tea in the tea tasting room. And actually, the tea of the month is going to be dandelion tea. Something about dandelion tea. Like I keep thinking about that dream that I had with my grandmother when she told me I needed to drink dandelion tea. So I'm trying to make sure my skin is right, my body is right, make sure that my health is intact because I'm going home and I'm intending to not only be a tourist in my country, but there's so many things going on while I'm there. I have my nonprofit event, and then my nonprofit Scrub Life Cares, we got special accreditation from the United Nations to attend the Small Island Developing States United Nations Conference, which is going to be held in Antigua as well. So I definitely want to ensure that I have all my energy so that I can be networking and rubbing shoulders with some of the amazing world leaders that we have. So I got to make sure I'm okay. So the tea of choice for this month is dandelion tea. All right, let's get into today's episode. Let's talk about honoring your feelings and building resilience. And when I was thinking about this episode, it made me realize, like I said again, it's all about the transformative power of just honoring your feelings and working towards building resilience. And I think for me, when I think about what it means to honor my feelings, that means allowing my emotions or allowing your emotions to be acknowledged, and you can feel that without any sort of judgment or suppression. And for me, I've been known to suppress my emotions most time because one, I know I am aware that we're all going through something, and sometimes when I'm feeling overwhelmed or I have whatever the emotion is, my first thing sometimes is to either reach out to my sisters or to my closest friends, sometimes just to vent or just to have them pour into me. But also what I realized that is that yes, I do have a great support system, but even if I'm telling or explaining to them how I'm feeling, I personally am not necessarily honoring my feelings. Sometimes my intention behind of that is for me to vent to them, have them pour into me whatever way, but then also it goes to the other ear, not necessarily taking in what they're saying, or sometimes because I haven't had the time to actually sit in or with my emotions, sometimes I don't know how to process it, or sometimes I'm playing catch up to my emotions, if I can be honest. So think about it this way, if you're sitting in a quiet room like I am right now, and then, you're trying to tune into your emotions, you want to attack that with some compassion. Because again, when we have any sort of compassion as it relates to our emotion, it helps us to actually sit and feel and work through our emotions. You know what I mean? Like for me, sometimes, let's say I have a feeling of being overwhelmed, or I'm feeling sad, or I'm feeling angry about something. Because one thing about me, sometimes I tend to overcommit, and I'm not realizing that my overcommitment sometimes is not healthy for me from an emotional or even mental standpoint. And I think sometimes because I'm such an overachiever, right? And I'm always thinking about the next. Like for instance, I've been out of school. I had no assignments to turn in for a week now. And for some reason, my anxiety and my stress levels are still high because, for the last 7 months, I've been on autopilot, trying to make sure I'm passing all my classes, trying to make sure that I'm productive at work, trying to ensure that I'm growing Tea with Tanya podcast, trying to ensure that I'm growing Scrub Life Kids, and ensuring that I'm setting ourselves up for success, because I've gotten so used to always being on the go over and over and over and over. Now that I have something that's off of my plate for the next couple of months, I'm still operating at a high stress level, if that makes sense. I'm like, well, you know what? I can come home from my 9 to 5. I can work on something for my nonprofit. I can do something for the podcast, and then I can legitimately, REST, I can legitimately rest. But am I resting? No, because I'm thinking my brain keeps going, 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 thinking that I have something to do. And I also have that feeling that I'm missing something. But again, what I realized, because I was reading this book, and I've been reading this book for months, guys. Let me tell you, I've been trying to finish this book, but the timing, but I was finally done. And it's called It's on Me: Accept Hard Truths, Discover Yourself, and Change Your Life. And that's by Sarah Kubrick. She's also known as a millennial therapist on social media. But I got to the end of the book, and there was an activity that she said, sometimes we have to turn toward ourselves. And I'm thinking to myself, why am I so stressed? Why do I feel so anxious? Why am I thinking about the next thing, but yet to kind of even place my finger on the next thing as well? And that's because I'm not taking the time to really sit and see how I feel. Like when I got the particular grade that I got for my health economics class, I was like, the first thing I did was I took a screenshot, sent it to my therapist, and I was like, I'm ready to die. Granted, that was a joke, but I was being dramatic, to be quite honest. But again, the overachiever in me was like, wow, how are you feeling this way? Or how did you even get this grade? But granted, when I was praying for me to pass said class, because I'm like, A in this class is not even achievable at this point, because you came into this class with a particular mindset. So you're not playing catch up. And even if you play catch up, you're not going to get that A. And I just remember, my therapist, whatever her response was to me. And I remember saying, like, wow, I think she said something about, Tanya, these are amazing grades. It's just something you should celebrate. And I was like, an amazing grade, where at? Like, how is this an amazing grade when I am, I don't like it. I wanted to get a particular grade. And I remember her just telling me, Tanya, take some time to bask in this moment. Take some time to actually see how you feel about all what you had going on in your life. And you were still able to come out on top with these grades. You know what I mean? So that's something that I think I was so caught up in the failure, and I didn't allow myself to acknowledge how I was feeling, or even acknowledge the emotions. I think I kind of also suppressed them. I'm like, whatever, f this grade, or I'm thinking about the next semester and the class. I became so fixated on checking to see what did I register for, because I'm like, when I go into this class, I gotta get an A, I gotta get an A, I gotta get an A. And at this point, I keep suppressing, like, how do you feel about your approach to the semester, right? And I think for me, when it comes to, again, honoring my feelings, and I want you to think about this too, it's about creating a safe space in order for you to tune into your emotions with compassion and acceptance. Because sometimes we do have our feelings. We're going to go through the emotion, especially as we're in child place. These emotions are going to go up and down, day in, day out. But it's about approaching said emotion with compassion and acceptance. And I remember thinking to myself that, well, I'm like a great support. Like, I'm a great supporting cast when it comes to my friends or just anything in general. And I just remember that I'm always there, no matter what I'm going through. If somebody's calling me and they need a listening ear, or sometimes it's not even an advice; it's just somebody to vent. I often make sure that I create that safe space to allow them to be able to feel their emotions And I often greet them with compassion, and I'm accepting what it is that they're telling me without essentially not putting any pressure on them or, making them feel bad or whatever. I'm like, if I can approach other people with compassion and acceptance and also, being there for them in that sense, why can't I have them, allowing them to process what they're going through? Why is it that I cannot create a safe space for myself to actually become more in tune with my emotion and give myself compassion? Because let me tell you, I suck at giving myself any sort of compassion. Like, I'm not gonna even lie to you. Like, I'm on the podcast and sometimes I'm encouraging you and I'm living my life. I'm living whatever I'm telling you on the podcast. It's the truth. But I also, of course, our safe space can still have some sort of principle or some sort of, boundaries and whatnot. But this is just me saying, what, I'm not perfect. And sometimes even when I'm gassing somebody up or I'm supporting somebody, I'm not always in the best mind frame. I'm not always in the best, my friend. Sometimes do I allow myself to tell people, you know what, today is not the day, I'm not in the mood. Like, I've been having a migraine for, like I said, the last 5, 6 days, and I've had people messaging me, texting me, like I'm being pulled in many different directions, especially as, being a nonprofit founder and planning the event and these different things. And I did not have the capacity because the migraine was just taking me up, but I didn't allow myself to accept how I was feeling. I was trying to either suppress that feeling or trying to work past the feeling without working through the feeling. So when it comes to the experience of honoring your feelings, when you honor your feelings, you may end up experiencing a wide range of sensations or some sort of emotions, and both can be positive and challenging. And I have been going through the challenging part, dealing with the challenges in my personal life and not ensuring how to process certain things or not allowing myself to embrace the vulnerability that I was experiencing or even acknowledging the discomfort as part of the process. And I think sometimes when you're trying to move past a particular situation, like I've seen the girl who's on TikTok say, "Oh, F this or F that," and I'm like, I'm not a F this or F that person because I'm going to try to sit there. I'm gonna try to figure out the why. I'm gonna try to question everything, but also I don't allow myself to be vulnerable and acknowledge how uncomfortable processing, whether it's hurt or grief or whatever it is, how uncomfortable it can be, because the minute it becomes uncomfortable, I'm ready to move on. But yes, still I can provide a safe space for individual who's going through something that may be uncomfortable, and I'm helping them process it and helping them work through that. So in other words, I'm not sitting here. I had to learn a big lesson within the last month and a half or so, if that long, about what it meant to experience honoring my feeling and what it meant to embrace vulnerability and acknowledging discomfort as part of the process. Because let me tell you, it was not comfortable at all. But I had to get back into my journaling bag. There are days when I cried. I just cried and cried and cried. Like, let me tell you, the shower did not see me and not see tears there. Like when I say crying, like boo-hoo crying, screaming out crying, thankfully I live alone, so nobody's going to be hearing me crying. And sometimes I just don't even know what it comes from because I'm processing that grief or that hurt or whatever it is. It becomes this uncomfortable. And I think the minute I started acknowledging, like, you know what, this is not meant to be easy. It's going to be uncomfortable. The minute I started accepting that, I think that's when I started to improve in other areas of my life, because it takes a lot of courage to honor your feelings. Like, it takes courage to even confront the uncomfortable truth and even to embrace that vulnerability. And I think what I've learned is that courage allows us to face our emotions head on and find strength and resilience in the process. I'm going to say this again. Courage allows us to face our emotions head on and find strength and resilience in the process. So that's definitely, like I say, it's going to be uncomfortable, but it allows us to face that emotion head on so that we can continue to find the strength. And that's where, building resilience comes in to play. I think when we honor our feelings, it should come as a way. It should mean that we're empowering ourselves. It's going to empower you. It's going to empower me to reclaim our personal agency and just really and truly become that, how should I say, really become that, architect of your emotional landscape. And that's something that I read in that same book that I mentioned earlier as well. It helps to liberate us from any sort of constraints of judgment. And it also allows us to embrace the full spectrum of emotions because we're humans and we're going to be emotional. We're women, we're going to be emotional as well. So you definitely want to think about ways in which you can embark on like a journey to exploring yourself and having emotional acceptance. Like for me right now, I am in the era where I am working towards being, I mean, I've always been my authentic self, don't get me wrong, but I've also said on the podcast, sometimes I have found myself adjusting and adapting or changing sometimes depending on the environment. And I decided that I no longer wanted to subscribe to that. Like I cannot subscribe to adjusting, adapting, shaping, changing to accommodate somebody else's emotions or feelings or just them as a person or the situation. I have to continue to show up as my most authentic self. And I think when it comes to resilience, again, it's not about suppressing your emotions or pretending everything is fine. Because let me tell you, go back to when I failed on the nursing school. I thought my world was coming to an end. I was depressed. I didn't know what to do. I thought my life was over. And I remember hearing my aunt say, sometimes you have to just turn your stumbling blocks into stepping stone. And since then, where I am currently in my life, I don't even think I was ready for what I thought I was ready for back in like 2014, 2015, to be quite honest. You know what I mean? So I think, it comes down to acknowledging our feelings and responding to them with strength and grace. And that's what resilience is to me as well. Because, we live in a fast paced world where there's a bunch of distractions. There's like an abundance of distractions. Like, let me tell you, I get distracted so easy. It's crazy. There's an abundance of distraction. And sometimes some of these expectations that are placed on us are really, really high. So it's very easy for us to overlook our emotional well-being, i.e. me. But let me tell you, we're going to get on this journey about self-discovery, empowerment, because let me tell you, we're not going to be out here not honoring our feelings and then having ourselves feeling like, we're less than, you know what I mean? Like it's just not right. Whether it's, you're experiencing joy or, there's sorrow, anger, even fear. I feel like each emotion has its own story to tell. And that's what I've been learning just from reading that book and just analyzing where I am in my life. Like sometimes we tend to silence the voices, for fearing of judgment or rejection. Because let me tell you, nothing hurts more than not only being judged, but nothing hurts more than rejection. Okay. But I feel like instead of like shunning our feelings, how about we embrace them wholeheartedly? Because that's who we are. We cannot pretend to not be ourselves. So how about we embrace them and with our whole heart? Like we're not going to back down. This is what life is giving me. This is how I'm feeling. That fear of judgment or that rejection is going to hurt like hell, and it's going to hurt like hell for a while. But the minute you start embracing them, let me tell you, when I say I'm taking things one moment at a time, I'm encouraging you, my friend, to also take things one moment at a time when it comes to that. So when it comes to resilience, contrary to popular belief, it's not about always bouncing back just from adversity. As if nothing happened. It's about embracing the lessons learned, which is what I had to do the last couple of months. It's about growing from our experiences. It's about, emerging stronger than before. So think of, and I had a friend tell me this, so think of resilience as a muscle that, requires regular exercise. And, I'm in the gym 3-4 days a week, but think of resilience as a muscle that requires, regular exercise. So it's like, the more we practice, the more I'm going to the gym, I'm seeing changes. I'm seeing like, okay, my legs are a little bit toned, my arms. So the more we practice facing life's challenges, especially head on, the stronger our resilience becomes. Because sometimes I think for me, I was using the word, I'm resilient, but I don't think I understood exactly what it meant for me, especially in my current phase of life. So when you think about how we can cultivate resilience in our daily lives, it's really through self-care. And I know that word is often overused, but when it comes to nurturing your physical, your mental and emotional well-being, that essentially lays the foundation in order for resilience to thrive. Whether that means getting enough sleep. For me, my sleep schedule, as we know on this podcast, your friend has been up and down with her sleep schedule. When it comes to it's about whether you're getting enough sleep, it's about how often are you practicing mindfulness. That's one thing that I fell off at one point in the beginning of the year. But I am back on my mindfulness practice and I'm very consistent. And now I'm realizing that, it's starting to pull me back out of how I was feeling. You know what I mean? So you want to practice mindfulness consistently. You want to engage in activities that's going to bring you joy. prioritizing self-care should really and truly be a non-negotiable part of your routine. And I've said this before on the podcast, and I'm pretty sure you've heard this many, many times. But for me now, I think self-care takes on a whole new meaning for me, especially just from when the year started to where I am now. Like, I'm legitimately prioritizing self-care. Self-care can look different for everyone, but it is now a non-negotiable part of my routine. Because one, I can't afford to be out here with a migraine, honey. Like, I'm talking to you and this migraine is like knocking me, telling me, girl, you need to go sleep or you need to go lay down and be still. But I cannot, I can no longer continue my life without making sure that I'm taking a really good care of myself. Another key aspect of resilience, as I've been working on myself these last few months, is about fostering a growth mindset. So instead of, viewing our setbacks as some sort of obstacles, and sometimes they may be, to keep it real, but instead of viewing them like obstacles, maybe we can look at them as opportunities for growth and learning. And that's what I've been doing. When I say sometimes, I don't like it. I'm telling you this now, friend, but it wasn't easy. But I look at these setbacks as opportunities for growth and learning. Because I often say, you know what, I tend to learn the hard way, and I'm tired of learning the hard way. But again, it's just about using them as an opportunity for me to learn. Because at the end of the day, it's not about avoiding failure, because sometimes we cannot avoid failure, but it's more about embracing that, or embracing it as a natural part of the journey toward success. And I wholeheartedly believe that, because again, when I think about my time from being in nursing school to where I am now, getting ready to finish my master's of public health degree, and it's just, I cannot, I don't think I was ready. And I think, when it comes to really and truly being resilient, like, I think and I know I am a resilient young individual, because I've had many failures, I've had many setbacks, but the beauty about it is that I've learned from every single failure and every setback. Was it always easy for me to accept the failure? Absolutely not, especially if an overachiever like myself. However, what has brought me peace and has been bringing me peace to an extent is just knowing that I am who I am. I am relearning who I am, because again, we're all evolving. And as I continue to evolve, sometimes I'm learning about new things about myself, the way I even handle certain situation in my life now. Like, me from maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years, will not be handling some of the situations that I'm facing now the way I am right now. So I want you to just think about resilience as not always about avoiding failure, but rather it's embracing it as a part of the natural journey towards your success, because that is very, very important. For me, in one of my classes this semester, I had to talk about the different signature strengths. And I think when you look inward yourself and you think about, what are my signature strengths? Think about them. These are qualities that make you who you are. Whether that's creativity, whether that's kindness, whether it's perseverance. One of my favorite phrases is perseverance is key. And then, of course, each of us possess some sort of unique strength that contribute to our resilience. So when we're acknowledging and nurturing these strengths, it helps you to tap into, your inner resilience. And that's going to empower us to overcome even the most daunting challenges. I think one of my signature strengths at the time, and this was more for about leadership, I remember listing one as social intelligence. And that's the core value. Like, the core value of social intelligence is about the foundation of effective leadership. And especially for me in the area that I work in. You know what I mean? I'm aware of my emotions, I'm aware of my intentions, and that if let's say my coworkers or my members in my organization, it's about ensuring that I make everyone feel comfortable and part of the work. So when we come to the tea tasting room, again, I'm really tapping into that social intelligence, because I want to ensure that you're comfortable and you're part of the tea tasting room just as much as I am. You know what I mean? I like to promote a collaborative leadership, as it makes everyone feel valued, meaningful, and relevant as well. So that was one of my signature strengths that I spoke about in class as well. When I think about, it had me dig deep to think about, wow, what are some of my signature strengths as it relates to even my professional life. One of them is teamwork. Again, working as a team, it's very important. And when I say team, a team doesn't have to always be just who you're working with directly with your coworkers. On the last episode, I spoke with Gianna about community again. sometimes we have to break away from the conventional boundaries and just think about who makes up my community? What can I do? Who makes up my village? You know what I mean? So teamwork again doesn't always mean like, working in a group for a class project or whatever the case may be. It's very important that, you tap into your signature strength. One of mine was I think I put love, in expressing love. I am committed to highlighting like, the personal narratives and stories here in the podcast that tends to exemplify triumphs and challenges of anyone as we're here working towards transforming our every aspect. My intention is always to focus on compassion. And like I said, when I do that now, it's allowing for a deeper emotional connection, especially with you listening to this episode. So I'm really just trying to tap into my signature strength. And I do encourage you to do the same. Think about what it could be. Like I say, it could be creativity, it could be kindness, it could be perseverance. Again, we all have some unique strength that's going to contribute to our resilience. Because finding your resilience is not about waiting for that perfect moment or that circumstance. Like, oh, I failed today or I failed this class. No, it's about embracing that journey of self-discovery and personal growth, one step at a time, or even one moment at a time. And one thing, and I'll leave you guys with this, one thing that I've been doing recently is I've been taking small moments of introspection in my daily life. Like I say again, that's that mindfulness practice, the journaling, the meditation. Sometimes I go for a walk. Like I mentioned when I had my trainer here a few episodes ago, I really do look forward to that 1 hour of workout because it helps me to connect, sometimes with my inner wisdom. It's just really a beautiful thing when you tap into to who you are and realizing that you are resilient no matter what, but finding out what resilient means to you. So as we go, I want to invite you, friend, to really and truly embrace your uniqueness, honor your values, and definitely nurture those signature strengths of who you are, your core values. Because in doing that, you'll be able to unlock endless amount of resilience that resides within you. Because sometimes life is tough. Because life be life, and honey. But as you continue to tap into your inner resilience, it's gonna guide you through, the different ups and downs of life, and definitely take you to that next level of being strong, of honoring your feelings. Some days we can be sad, we can be happy, we can just be over it. It's about acknowledging and honoring those feelings and doing whatever is right for you as a person, right? So I want to leave you with this, honoring your feelings is not a sign of weakness, but rather it is a testament to your strength and resilience. So I want you to embrace everything, the full spectrum when it comes to your emotions that make you human, and let them guide you on your path to growth and development and empowerment. And remember, your girl Tanya, we all on this journey. Every day is not going to be the same. I could be the most positive, optimistic person, and I promise you I am. But sometimes I have my days. So I want to tell you that honoring your feelings is not a sign of weakness. So as we're going into this week, so this is your mantra. This is your quote for the week and even for throughout the month as we're on this journey. But I want you to know that honoring your feelings is not a sign of weakness, but rather a testament to your strength and resilience. Embrace the full spectrum, my friend, of your emotions that make you human, and let them guide you on your path to growth, empowerment, and development. If you enjoyed this episode, I definitely want you to subscribe. As it relates to more discussions on our emotions, our resilience, I love you for listening. I love you for tuning in. Tell a friend to tell a friend, and I can't wait to see you back here in the tea tasting room because we have some amazing topics coming up with some amazing guests. So I definitely can't wait to see you guys here back in the tea tasting room again. Again, if you resonated with this episode, I encourage you to share with a friend, share with others who you think may benefit from its message. And of course, till next time, please, please, please remember to honor your feelings and embrace the fullness, my darling, of your being. All right? Thank you. I'll see you in the tea tasting room next time. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Tea with Tanya. If you like this episode, be sure to share it with a friend. Don't forget to follow on Instagram at Tea with Tanya Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the weekly Tea Talk newsletter. And of course, rate on Apple or Spotify and subscribe wherever you listen. See you next time. I love you for listening.